morning. Today's topic, I want to go over how to run a faster 2-mile time. And I know a lot of you out there are trying to run faster over the 2-mile distance. As you know, that is not 3,200 meters. You know, in high school we know it is 3,200 meters, but really 2 miles is 3,218 meters. So a little bit longer than 8 laps, but for this video's sake, we're focusing on the 3,200 meter in high school. A lot of you are trying to run faster over the 2-mile distance. I'll tell you from my own background is, without question, if you want to run a faster 2-mile, you can't be in a rush. You cannot be thinking short term. You have to be thinking long term, okay? It takes a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks for your body to adapt to any hard anaerobic workouts you're doing. So when you first get started in a 2-mile training plan, and I do have 2-mile training plans for athletes that are training for 8, 12, or 16 weeks on RunDreamAchieve.com. So if you're interested in that, definitely check those out, as well as training plans for milers up to the 50K distance. I ran a personal best of 9 minutes and 27 seconds when I was in college for the 2-mile. Okay, I started running the 2-mile as a freshman in high school. First time I ever ran it, I ran it at 11:30. Got it as a freshman. As a sophomore in high school, lowered it down to 10:38. I ran 9:46 for 3,200 meters, and my junior year, and 9:46 again for 3,200 meters when I was a senior in high school. And again, eventually running 9:27 for the 2-mile distance when I was in college. It's a process, so you have to focus on building your endurance, making sure that you're staying consistent with your mileage. But again, because the 2-mile is a highly anaerobic event, you have to work on your speed. You have to focus on doing those very hard acceleration drills, working on doing strides. When I talk about during your build-ups, whether it's an 8-week, 12, or 16-week training plan, focus on doing strides, 5 to 6 100-meter strides twice per week during your easy runs. It could be before you start your easy run, during the easy run, or after the easy run. The reason why is because over a long period of time, over several weeks, several months, you're going to be spending time running several miles, several kilometers at sprint paces. And again, you're doing those strides on top of all the other track sessions you're doing, the tempo runs you're doing, the long runs you're putting in. So that is going to make you dangerous when it comes to the 2-mile. Again, it's about sustaining race pace longer than your competition. So easy, relaxed running, although very, very important, is not going to help you race a 2-mile. It will help you build that endurance that you definitely need as a 2-miler. So yes, you do have to build, consistent base mileage and consistent mileage over a long, 8 to 16 week block of training. But you also have to focus on what really is going to do the most damage when you get in the race, and that is speed and stamina and strength. And I talk about in other videos that the way I build the training plans, the way I've built my running courses, is revolved around the training philosophy of 2 coaches, Dr. Joe Vigil, who's one of the world's best distance running coaches and a world-renowned exercise physiologist who was a mentor of mine, and Jack Hazen, who's been at Malone University now for about 53 years. He was the 2012 London Olympics USA men's and women's distance coach. So these 2 individuals, along with spending time being trained by the 1985 Boston Marathon champion Lisa Rainsberger, helped me get to a point where I could run faster from the 2-mile distance all the way up to the 50K distance. It's not just about volume that you're putting in. All of these coaches told me the same thing. They said, don't get caught up with how much mileage you're putting in. So as you're training for your 2-mile, look at the training that you're doing and find out what percentage of that weekly mileage am I putting in. Am I training at or below my goal 2-mile race pace? So if your goal is to break, say, 16 minutes, you have to get comfortable with running closer down towards 7-minute mile pace. Because again, the reason you do that is because you get that 8-minute mile pace to feel more sustainable. Again, it's all about improving your body's lactate tolerance. And to do that, you have to spend a longer period of time in training at your anaerobic threshold, the point where we start to build up lactic acid in our bodies. So the longer you can spend training at that particular intensity, which is right around 86 to 88% of your maximum heart rate, the better. as a 2 miler, if you can do start off doing your tempo runs around 3 miles, again, that's slightly further than you're going to race. That's going to build your confidence psychologically as well. But if you can get to a point where you can double the distance of that 2 mile, or that of the race distance that you're aiming for, in this case the 2 mile, and you get that tempo run out to around 4 to 5 miles, think of how strong and how mentally tough you're going to be when you line up against your competition. I hope that makes sense. It's very important because a lot of times athletes will not spend enough time running at their anaerobic threshold, and because they didn't spend sufficient time training at or below their goal 2 mile race pace, they have a really hard time running, especially that last 4 laps of the race or last 3 laps of the race. Maybe I've seen a lot of athletes that are on their goal 2 mile race pace for 5 or 6 laps, but the last 2 laps they just fall apart. And again, it's about proper pacing too. If you're trying to break a 10-minute 2 mile, going out the first lap of a 2 mile race in 62 to 63 is a little bit too aggressive. Yes, you're going to go out, if you went out that fast, you have a little bit of buffer room, but it's going to be very hard to be able to sustain that because, again, your goal was to hold 75-second quarter pace. So thinking about proper pacing is also very, very important in terms of how to run a faster 2 mile time. And so making those mistakes in training, making sure that you're watching your pacing, I believe in, especially if you're wanting to run a faster 2 mile, again, you have to develop your speed. So 1 VO2 max workout per week is optimal for most athletes. If you're getting to the national, the elite level class athlete, there may be times during the week where you do 2 VO2 max workouts, or maybe a VO2 max like a track session. In this case, maybe 16 400s or 12 400s in the morning, and then in the evening you go out and you do maybe a 2 to 3 mile tempo run. So there are athletes out there that are doing doubles. There are times where athletes that are really serious about running faster over the 2 mile distance will run higher mileage, but again, you don't want to get caught up in the volume. It's the quality of that work that you've done. We hear it all the time. Focus on quality over quantity. That is absolutely true, because if you're spending so much of your weekly volume at too easy aerobic of an effort, you are not going to be able to race the 2 mile distance at the intensity that you want. Again, there are athletes, everybody's different, and there are some cases where athletes are just running mileage and still running well under their goal 2 mile time. But again, there are some athletes that do have more genetic physiological capability, and there are athletes such as myself who don't really have a great deal of talent, but have to work extremely hard, and they have that work ethic that they can make up for that lack of talent. So think about these things when you're training for your 2 mile. Focus on preferably a 12 to 16 week block of training. The longer you train for a 2 mile, the more and better prepared you're going to be when it comes time to race. I believe in a 10-day taper, as most of you who are regular watchers of the RunDreamAchieve YouTube channel know already. A 3-week taper is what most athletes do, and for some athletes it works. But I think if you want to run a faster 2 mile and you want to really go into your race rested rather than fatigued, consider not dropping your volume and your intensity until 10 days out from that main 2 mile race that you're going for. Again, the shorter build-up, the more difficult it's going to be to really prepare properly, because again, like I said before, it takes about 21 days or slightly, or up to 4 weeks for your body to adapt to any physiological stress that you're placing on it. So you can't rush this. Be patient. Focus on doing, your speed development. Focus on doing the strides 2 to 3 times per week, 5 to 6 100-meter strides. And again, they don't have to be all out. Gradual increase in pace, and focus on your staying as relaxed as you can while you're doing those. And again, as I said before, over a long period of time, you're spending time sprinting, but spending several miles and several kilometers at sprint paces on top of your weekly track workouts, road sessions, hill repetitions, and long runs. So these are some of the things I really want you all to be thinking about in terms of the specific types of workouts I would be doing. With the 2 mile distance, again, you don't have to do very far long runs. If I was training for a 2 mile now, the longest long run I would really focus on is maybe 8 to 9 miles in length. You know, you're not going out doing 18 to 24, 25 milers like you would be if you're preparing for a fast marathon. This is the 2 mile distance, so it's anaerobic. The marathon or half marathon or even 10K is more of an aerobic event. So you have to work on the speed. Do not neglect this. That's the reason why I created the training plans on RunDreamAchieve.com. They're built so you know exactly what type of workout you're doing on a weekly, monthly basis, daily basis. It takes the guesswork out of what you need to be doing. And also it sets you up for teaching your body to handle that 2 mile race pace that you want to compete at and you want to sustain for the entire 8 laps of that race. Again, it's not where you're at that first mile. You know, it's where you're at the finish line. So again, focus. If you're trying to break a 10-minute 2 mile, or maybe, you know, in this case, a 10-minute 2 mile, you need to hit 75-second quarters every single lap, and you need to sustain it. So going out no faster really than around 71 to 72 seconds is optimal. You know, going out in the 62 or 63 will put you into oxygen debt and will give you, and it will make it very, very difficult for you to sustain that pace over the 2 mile distance unless you've really done your homework and training. So I hope this video is helpful for you all. Feel free to leave me a comment below. Let me know what questions you have, maybe something I didn't answer in this video or something I didn't really cover as in depth as you would like. And I'll definitely reach back out to you. Hit that bell icon in the subscribe button so when I make a new video, you'll be notified of it. And if there's anything else I can help you all out with the 2 mile distance, believe me, you know, I'm here for you all. I know how tough this particular distance is and how fast and anaerobically fit you have to be and mentally tough you have to be in order to run a fast 2 mile time. So I hope this video is helpful for you, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.